Welcome in Cancer to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 29th of June for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. I'm going to share with you, first of all, the big themes of the week ahead. Then on screen is your event chart as we start the week. I'll unpack that. It's always influential. I'll then go through the influences in detail. By the end of the video, you'll have a clear picture of what's upcoming in terms of energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So as we start this week, you have three players in your zodiac sign. But one of them, Mercury, goes into a retrograde on Monday. And also Jupiter, the planet of hope and expansion, which has been with you for 13 months, moves into Leo on Tuesday, which could be very beneficial over the next 13 months. But late last week, Mars, the planet of drive, passion, assertion, moves into a very sensitive part of your situation, the 12th house, for 6 weeks. What's the implications of that? And also on Monday, we have a full moon in your opposite sign. Full moons create tension because the sun and the moon are in opposition. They're not working together like they are in the new moon, and they have very different energies. So your desire to demonstrate your cardinality, your authority, taking firm action to make things happen, which has been triggered since the sun joined your sign, is challenged by perhaps other people's viewpoints or needs. Maybe it's your own needs to spend time with someone you're close to. So on the screen, you can see Mars in that 12th house, the sun is going to be opposed by the moon later on Monday, and Mercury goes into the retrograde, and Jupiter about to move into the sign of Leo. But let's just look at Mars first of all. Mars moving into the 12th house in Gemini can see all of our minds be very active over that period of time. But for you, Mars joins with Uranus in your 12th house. And what that combination can do is have a potential to stir up things deep within you that could be quite historical. Now, because Mars can be about hurt, pain, and anger, it may be a past event that was really not easy that just seems to get more activated. But also, Mars is in a T square with the nodes. And that I think is particularly intriguing because over the last 18 months, the way you've been thinking and expressing your ideas has been affected by the karmic pull of those. But maybe something deep within you could come up that does need thinking about or talking about. And because Mercury is going retrograde on Monday, obviously that requires care, particularly through to the 23rd of July when the retrograde begins. But the post-retrograde shadow goes on to the 7th of August. And because Mars will be in this area for 6 weeks, just know that there may be some tender conversations you might need to have. But further, what we have is Neptune in the most visible part of your chart, boosting your brilliance with intuition, healing, being very caring, perceptive, wonderful for all those things. But it is in a square with the sun as you start this week. And it was very strong at the end of last week. If you are encountering suddenly a bit of self-doubt about what your place in the world is, particularly professionally, or if you're talking to someone influential, you're not quite sure how they feel about you, it's important that you do stay as cool and collected as possible. Because what Mars in that conjunction with Uranus can do is make you feel quite on edge, quite nervous. You could have a lot of adrenaline and also a bit of uncertainty of which way to go. So there may be a challenge. Someone who you're fond of may say, look, you've been so busy, when am I going to spend some time with you? So it could be as gentle as that. It could be something a bit heavier. But what you do have with Jupiter moving into Leo on Tuesday is he links back to Mars and Uranus in a very productive way. And this is where Mars can come back to you. And it's possible that someone you used to work with or an old skill, experience, or some knowledge you gain can actually help you to make money, significant money, over the next 13 months. So Mars forges one very testing T-square, but also one potentially very productive angle to Jupiter. We also have Venus, the planet of money, in the second house of your chart, in the proud Leo that started this week, in a very solid link to Saturn. If you're fortunate enough to have your own business or work for someone who really appreciates you, or your enterprise is quite stable, you can really appreciate that at the present time. But it's important with Neptune to know that how people perceive you at the moment may not necessarily be completely clear. So if you are trying to pitch an idea to someone in your team, a line manager, do be as factual as possible. And that's where Mercury's retrograde will require some care. But the great news is that Mercury will come out of that retrograde on the 23rd, but Jupiter will stay in your second house right through to pretty well the end of August 2027. And therefore, I think that you have quite the window to try to improve or even benefit from a lot of hard work you've been putting in over some time to improve your financial situation. I'm going to summarize those four areas of vitality, work, relationships, and finances next, Cancer. Just to say, if you've yet to watch your July deep dive monthly video or your Jupiter into Leo 30-month forecast, please click on the I on the screen, the italic I, and it will take you through to those videos. But just also to say, I've reduced the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of 1. Great value. Used to be for a very long time, buy 2 get 30% off. Please see the link below for more. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. If you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, please sign up for that below too. Get your early day celestial pit stop fired to your device. So in terms of energy, I actually feel you could be quite on edge. And even if you're someone who has a very sort of calm persona and can work through life in a very even-handed way, there may just be a kind of edginess that creeps in. But it's an edginess that you can use to your advantage, because perhaps you're being asked to look at something that's been just lingering within you that needs to be released. As far as your professional situation is concerned, having Saturn at the top of your chart in a great link to Venus means if you're working with people who really value you and you're well established and you're appreciated, it could work well for you financially, but also in terms of your career prospects. However, completely the converse can be true. If you're someone who's much more of a free spirit, that square with Neptune suggests fitting into a big organization or a company that has a particular set way of doing things might not really feel that comfortable for you. And I think one of the things the Mercury retrograde could ask you to do is perhaps rethink your connection to the world through your uniqueness. But in purely financial terms, having Jupiter move to join up with Venus, the two planets of fortune, in your second house is broadly extraordinarily fortunate. And in Jupiter's case, it could go on right through to next year. And in terms of relationships, wow, that's an intriguing one, I feel. So with Pluto moving into the second house, it is going to be moving into an opposition with Pluto. You may find yourself really quite drawn to somebody, but not quite understand why. It could show up this week. It might be more into the week following. But I think that's an intriguing influence if you're single. You could also suddenly from nowhere start to think about someone from your past. I'm not telling you to get in touch, and I'm certainly not saying for sure that it would work out if you reconnected. But with the moon in the seventh house, if you're in a relationship at the moment, it's important to work on making sure that the other person feels that you're being inclusive, because I think there's a lot about your energy at the moment which requires you to concentrate on your own needs. So those listening skills, explaining where you are, but also acknowledging their viewpoint is going to be important. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Cancer. Have a great week. All the best, and see you again soon.